You will hear a little voice, perhaps see a message on your screen, because you have to allow your image sometimes to appear in this recording. So let me confirm if you see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
I will try to. Good. Perfect. I will try to put it in slideshow. But my computer is not really cooperating today. Perhaps because I'm back from holidays right this morning. So that's why it does not want to go in slideshow. That's terrible. If I don't manage to slideshow, I will put it very big, try to put it as big as possible. And I will try to solve this issue after that when Benny will be talking. But at least you see the slide. That's already something. It's not doing anything. So I will move forward, okay? Not to lose time right now on technical issues, but I will try to solve that on the way. So welcome to the Art of Effective Communication. This is our first session today. Really happy to have you here. Also, I see that you are from a lot of different countries. So that's really amazing. And really, honestly, my deck is not working. Benny, would you be so nice to share your screen for me? And I will tell you to pass the slides one by one. You know, we make a communication course and then we start with technical issue when technique is not working. That's the best of the best. I'm really enjoying this first session, guys, already. Oh, I see Eugenia has brought another participant. Hi. So Benny, I will not tell you pass the slide each time.
But you see
because
there
they will get crazy with that. So if I make you a sign with my hand, you pass the slide. Is it okay for you? To do that way, to not be too nasty for all participants. Okay, so welcome officially after the technical issue. Some little message that we need you to have the best experience possible with us through these sessions. First, check your name is correct. Use the name you want to be called by. We know that sometimes you use computer from the company or from your husband or wife or whatever. So check your name is correct because we don't know each other so well for now. From the next session should be okay. We should remember you. Stay in silent mode. We're not speaking because, you know, we'll have some interaction. So of course you need to open your mic, but when not speaking, please in silent mode so that you are not disturbing the other participants. Camera on. We know that the remote is not exactly the same as presential, but putting the camera on is really helping to create this connection, this human connection between us. So it would be super nice if you can put your camera on. Share your thoughts and jokes in the chat. So the chat is really open. You can really use it to share references of something, you know, interesting article or a book or something that you think connects with what we are talking. But also you can make some jokes. You can discuss with each other. It's really no problem. Use the Zoom interactions. You see that in the bottom on the different little icons, you see a heart, which called react. If you click on it, you have two lines of reaction. The first line is making the reaction appear in your background. And the second line is appearing in the corner of your screen. So I would like you to test it right now. Just click on one of the reactions just to see that it's working. Yeah, great. And we'll be using this, you know, along the session because it helps us also to see how you are feeling with the contents and some interactions for you. And last thing, have paper and pen at hand. I know that most of the things are online now, but we'll be doing some activity with pen and paper. So I need you to catch it if you don't have it available on your desk. And also because even if you will receive the PDF, the recording, everything, it's good sometimes to write down some essential element that, you know, raise your attention, which is an important insight for you. It's important to write it because it helps your learning process. You can pass, Benny. The last thing that I want to insist on, Benny, the last thing I want to insist on is the fact that multitasking does not exist. You think that your brain is able to do it, but honestly, it's not. So I know how your screen looks like. If it's the same as mine, there are hundreds of things opened. And, you know, you have the WhatsApp, you have the emails, you have the Slack of the company, perhaps many, many things. Try to close as many windows as possible so that you can really focus on just one thing today and take the most out of this 3 hours together. Great. Facilitation. This is our job, okay? We don't consider ourselves as teachers or as experts, but we facilitate this learning journey for you guys. So our objective is to challenge you, bring some provocations, some frameworks, some contents, some activities, so that we create the context for good discussions. But as we said, you are from very different backgrounds, different companies, different countries. So a big part of why the course will be good will be also these interactions and your contributions, okay? So I think we do perhaps 50% of the job and you will do the other 50%. I will be facilitating today with Benny, and then in the next sessions, you will see also another facilitator with us. So we want to start with a little check-in. The check-in question for today is the following. Do you want my attention? Just talk about, and then you complete this sentence. Okay, so just open your mic and say, if we want your attention, what is the topic we should talk about? Like for me is chocolate, travels, and restaurants. These are my topics of like, okay, you get my attention for sure. Let's go. Okay. So we make popcorn style. Exactly. Tanya is already starting. Whoever wants to start to talk, let's go. And perhaps some people will talk over others, but then we find a way to do it. Let's go, Tanya.
For me, it's books, art, and also drawing and this kind of topics.
Thanks.
I'm Jennifer. For me, Paris, gardening, and home DIY will get my attention.
Cool. You don't need to give 3 things, okay? If you want to give just one, I mean, it's open format, I would say.
For me, it will be books.
Cool.
And for me, it would be sports.
Sports, okay. I heard a woman.
I think, yeah, hi, I'm Nana. For me, I think I hear your do-it-yourself home renovations. I would be happy to talk about that as well.
Yeah, Joost here. For me, it's classic cars from the late 60s and early 70s, mostly European.
For me, hi, this Ben. Oh, sorry, Hugo.
No, go for it. You started it.
Thanks. For me, it's being outdoors and doing outdoor things with kids and family.
Okay, now it's me, I guess. Hi, everyone. I'm Hugo. For me, I would say music and sports, for sure.
I'll also say it's sports for me.
Hi, I would say dance music for me.
And for me, it would be a few topics, probably history, marketing, and anything AI related. Yeah.
Javier?
Me, kids and psychology. Sorry.
That's okay. Javier, let's go.
Yeah,
That's your
for
turn.
me, it would be like music and cooking as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, travels and baking.
Hey guys, yeah, for me it would be hiking, music.
Anybody else who has not checked in yet? Benny, what's yours?
Now, well, this week, quantum computing.
And next week, perhaps something different. Cool. Thanks, everyone, for having checked in with this question. Okay, let's go next. I don't know if some of you knows Hyper Island already. I think some of you have made already some course or some like perhaps in company. For those who don't know about Hyper Island, we've been founded 30 years ago in Sweden. 3 guys decided to found a school to teach people and train people on digital. But digital at that time was about CD-ROM. Imagine that CD-ROM nowadays is kind of the, prehistoric thing. But they knew that digital would be changing the whole time long. So they wanted to train people in a different way, not by very classic, teacher, student in a room, but more with like projects, hands-on, working for companies. And this is really something that, from that time until today, we have really like experiencing in all the deliveries we do. We started in a prison. It's funny that they've chosen a place which is kind of different, also for a different kind of teaching. So now, as I said, like 30 days later, we are still very much this into our DNA of the way we are making learning experiences. And we love very much this quote from Alvin Toffler. He was a futurist, and in the 70s, he said the illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So imagine, in the 70s, it was like almost 50 years ago. And the guy was already kind of, seeing this, because what we learned at school, university, can be like 5, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. How much of that we use nowadays in our day-to-day? Not so much. We need to reinvent ourselves all the time so that we stay relevant on the market. And communication probably will be one of the topics where we've not been trained on that even at university. I'm engineer. I've never had a course on communication. And I'm communicating 10 hours a day, right? So this is interesting, how we need to always update ourselves. 30 years later, now we are spread in mainly Europe and Americas. And we are working on two sides, or two fronts. It's like open courses, like we are doing today with you guys. And we have also executive education, which is like in company. Like, for example, Coca-Cola is telling us, oh, we want a course on executive communication just for employees. We do that this is probably, I would say 70, 80% of our job. And then 30% is on courses. What is nice is that what we learn in companies, what are the needs? What are the necessities that the companies have right now? We bring this into courses. And the contents we develop into courses, we bring this also in companies. So it's always something like kind of a, retro feedback alimentation on how we work on these two different fronts. So how the course will be working. We have 4 modules, 4 weeks. So very simple, 1 module per week. And we have different elements in the dynamic of these courses. Benny? Yes. So the different elements are the following. Learning kits. This is to study on your own time. I will open a new channel on the Slack for the new module every Friday, and then I will give you the link to the learning kit. You don't need to study it before the session. You don't need to study it during the 4 weeks of the journey, because this stays with you, okay? Lifetime. There is no deadline. So if you don't have time to study so much during these 4 weeks, you can do it afterwards, no problem. The live session is probably the best part of the course, because this is where we'll interact, where we'll do concept, frameworks, activities together. And it will be always on Monday at 4 p.m. UTC. So I've shared with you guys a link always so that you can check what time is it in your country, because you know that you are spread all over the world. So it's a different time for each of you. 3 hours for the session, and we'll do a little break in the middle. The Slack channel, as I said, I will open a new channel for each module, and you can communicate in Slack. It's not just a channel where Sabrina is communicating to you, but it's also you guys can post things, references, books, whatever you feel interesting to share with others, or even questions. If you have a specific challenge, you can share it on Slack, and then everybody can contribute and help you on that topic. Related to communication, of course. We have some activities that will ask you to do, apart from the sessions. Every week, you will have a weekly challenge and a reflection journal. I will explain more about that at the end of the session today. And then the interaction. We want you to have interaction between you guys. Of course, we'll create the context for that in the sessions, but you can use Slack also for that. As I said, posting for a challenge that you want the others to help you on, or sending a direct message to someone. Okay, you have the possibility on Slack to send direct messages. Okay, so next, if you want the certificate, I know that some people are very keen on certificates. If you want it, you have to be present in at least 2 of the 4 sessions, and you have to deliver at least 4 of the 8 activities you will be giving you. That could be challenges or journals. Okay, so you have to do that along the 4 weeks so that you can get the certificate at the end. So what do we expect as behaviors from you guys along these weeks? First, I don't know if someone plays tennis here in the cohort, in the group, but if you just let a tennis ball drop on the floor, it will kick a little bit and just die. If you launch it with a lot of force, it will kick much higher. This is the same with the energy you put in the course, okay? You have invested money, or your company has invested money for you to, have this learning experience. So the more you invest in it, the more outcome you get, and the more it changes the way you can communicate afterwards. So like being present in the sessions, not multitasking, making the challenges, exchanging with others, this is part of how much you get the most out of this experience. The second thing of these behaviors is having this experimenter mindset. As I told you, in our DNA, there is a lot of hands-on, okay? We don't love just theory. We want you to practice. And I say this in all courses, in all topics, but specifically communication. Because if it stays just theory, you will not change the way you communicate. So you have to practice so that you really get the most of it. The third element of behavior is about exploring your stretch zone. Okay, perhaps some activities will get you a little bit out of this stretch zone. And that's important because you challenge yourself and that's how you progress. The next one is this thing about supporting each other. As I said, you can post on your own challenges or problems in the Slack. People can answer. You can make your contributions in the discussion we'll have. This is important. Each experience counts because you've been all communicating for the past years. So you all have experience, positive or negative, regarding communication. So this exchange between you guys is also what makes the course interesting. Next thing here is about trusting the process. You will see that we'll bring a lot of stuff during the sessions. Sometimes we don't have time to cover everything in details, but feel free to ask more questions afterwards. And you will see that the pieces of the puzzle, they will connect with each other, when we are advancing and moving on with the course. And the last stuff here is about having fun. These 3 hours per week is, out from your day-to-day job, family, friends, etc. It's really something for you, but you can make it light, fun. We are not very serious people. You will see that. So it's completely okay if we have some light exchanges during these hours. Good. All good for you guys? Yeah? So let's go for the objectives of this first session, this first module. So this module is called Effective Communication and Storytelling. We have 3 main targets, goals with you guys today. The first is understanding communication from the lenses of the information theory. So Benny will explain you what is the information theory, and we'll take it as a starting point, okay? Especially to discuss the different type of noise, because communication per se is something, exchanging between people. So you have a lot of different source of noises possible, and we want to discuss them so that you are more aware and conscious about them. And then in the second part of the session, we'll be discussing about storytelling, okay? Why storytelling is powerful and how you can apply and use storytelling techniques in your corporate context. So this is what we want for this session. So I've been talking a lot, so let's go for our first activity, which is called Stinkfish. I will show you a picture here on the screen, and I want you to tell me now, what do you see on that picture? What is it? And then perhaps the Swedish people should remain silent for now because they probably know the answer to that question. Could you show the picture, Benny? Yeah. So what do you see there? What's this? Herring, yeah, it's a type of herring, I would say. From which country do you think it is? I already gave a spoiler, right? Terrible smell, Sweden, exactly. Yeah, the umlaut on the O is telling you that this is from a northern country. So this is called stinky fish. This is like a specialty from Sweden. And Swedish people, you can pass slides. Swedish people are very keen on that. It's like amazing product, really nice to make, this kind of testing with friends and families. But it's very stinky the moment you open the tin, because they just let it ferment underground for some months before, eating it. So, yeah, Javier never tried it, but I mean, you can make it a try, Javier. Okay, you have to taste it. You have a lot of challenges on the internet of people trying not to vomit when they open the tin. So it's a very challenging product, at least the moment you open it. Why do I bring this stinky fish here to open a session on communication? Yeah, it tastes very good, it seems, Alison. The smell is horrible, but the taste is amazing. That's the point. I want to make a metaphor with this stinky fish. We have things that we keep with us: fears, doubts, anxieties, discomforts, preoccupations. These are all stinky fish. We keep them with us. We don't speak about them. And on the long term, it's smelling, right? Because it impacts your relationship with others. If you take a little piece of this fish in your pocket, people around you will smell it. It will impact your relations. But you just get used to it. It's just part of you. And you don't talk about it. So using this metaphor, I want you to think about what is your stink fish when you think about how you communicate. Okay, so I will invite you now to take a paper and a pen, really like old school, and I want you to draw a fish on that paper. It can be a very simple fish, okay, like this infinite way that children are making it. Does not need to be an art piece, but draw a simple fish and then write around 2-3 words that translate, express your doubts, preoccupations, anxieties when you think about how you communicate. Okay, so I give you like 1 minute, 2 minutes now to draw the fish on your paper. You will have to show it afterwards. So it has to be legible what you're writing. Could you give some examples of what you mean? Yes, I can. So if I take the stinky fish of Sabrina, I'm someone who talks very fast. So talking fast is one of my stink fish. And I'm facilitating in languages that are not my mother tongue. So English, Portuguese, Spanish. And I think that this impacts perhaps the way I manage to, bring my communication, my message to others. So this would be my 2 main stinky fishes when I think of myself communicating with others. Is it okay as an example, Mina? So it's very personal, each of us has different stinky fish. Oh, and Monse just mentioning that we will have the recordings every week, don't worry. And then on the next day after the session, we will post it on Slack. I will make a landing page, where I put the recording, I put the PDF of the deck, I put the challenge, I put everything on that landing page, okay? So you have to keep it. And then if you have to miss a session, you can go on that landing page. And this landing page will stay with you also with no time limit. So if you guys want to come back to it a few months later, there is no problem. Okay, so 30 seconds to finalize your fish.
Are you going to be able to do the breakout rooms, Sabrina? Or you want me to do them?
No, I have done it. That's okay. Okay. Everybody managed to draw a fish? Yeah, put some words around it. So now we will put you in groups, little breakouts, okay, for 5 minutes. And it's really 5 minutes. I'm not joking. You are 3 person per group. So nobody can leave right now because you would destroy the balance of the groups. 3 per groups, and each person will have 1 minute to share his stinky fish. So if you have a background, perhaps you will have to deactivate the background, show your fish on the screen, and then talk like, hey, I'm Sabrina, and then explaining a little bit about your stinky fish. Okay, it's not to comment on the stinky fishes of others. It's really a moment of listening to the other participants. Okay, so 5 minutes, I will click on the button, you will go on the rooms, and you will see that at the end of the 5 minutes, there is a message appearing on the screen that says, in 15 seconds, you will be brought back in the plenary. If you don't touch anything, you can enjoy the 15 seconds to finish your sentence. If you click on the message, the Zoom will bring you back, right, like automatically in the plenary at that moment. Okay, so my suggestion is don't touch anything, just wait that Zoom is bringing you back. All good? So 1 minute per person in breakouts, 3 people per breakout. Let's go. Okay, seeing everyone coming back progressively from the rooms. Great. So I want to listen a little bit from you guys. How was it? How was it to show your fish to other people?
I can start. I think that is a good experience because some points are the same, and some behaviors also, and you can understand that don't stay alone in this process, and it's good also see the arts of the colleagues.
Thanks, Tanya.
I can share as well. Alex speaking. Yeah, I see, of course, that we have a common, sticky fish, right? Nervous and so on. But also we talk about you need to know yourself, right? And also ask for feedback, how to improve. That was a very interesting, finding.
Yeah, from my side, I fully agree. I think it's always wise to find some common ground for everyone. So that's also what I see here. We're showing vulnerabilities, all of us. I think we're all here for the same purpose, to get better and so on. So I think it's wise to start like this, to show a little bit like we're all in the same boat. So yeah, good for me as well.
Was it easier to show your fish to others or to listen to the fishes from your colleagues here?
Didn't have any problem showing my fish. I did say it looked like a child drew it. But I think in this setting with only 3 people, it was much easier to have vulnerability showing than it would be for a larger crowd.
Mm-hmm. So what you did actually was an exercise of vulnerability, right? Because you talk about something that is not really okay, that is really like a problem for you, doubt, fears, whatever, with people you don't even know. well, sometimes it's easier to show this vulnerability to people we don't know than to the colleagues with whom we work every day. Yeah. But anyway, it was really a vulnerability exercise, and we love to start with this because, as you said, it gives a common ground. We realize that we are not alone, that people are sharing the same preoccupation than us or the same challenges than us. But we love the Stinky Fish as a dynamic to do with your teams for whatever topic. I mean, today we are talking about communication, but you can do a Stinky Fish when you get a new team or when you are starting a project, or, you know, like, what is your Stinky Fish about? And then you just adapt the question. This is part of the toolbox of Hyper Island. It's free resources that you have on our website. You need to log in the first time, but after that, you can always access. It recognizes you. And then you have more than 100 different activities that you can do with your teams or like that you can do alone. And Stinky Fish is one of the most famous ones. So I invite you to use this activity, which is really a good one to perhaps open the discussion on another level. Because in the day-to-day operations, we don't express our feelings. We don't express our doubts or fears. We just go and execute. So this helps to create perhaps another level of discussion and openness with your colleagues that can be very interesting. Okay, so why do we need to communicate? I will make a short introduction here before I pass to Benny. When you look to the etymology of the word communication, it comes from the Latin communis. And this is two different parts. Con, it's the prefix, and it means together, with. So you see already that communication is not an exercise of I am alone, of like, I'm communicating, I'm just throwing things to the world. No, it's something between two people. And this is what will make the exercise even more difficult, because it not only depends on us, it depends on others. Okay, so the con is really saying that this is something between two persons. And the root is munis, and it means exchange, service, mutual obligation. So interesting to start with that. So, okay, everything we'll be talking along the sessions, it's coming from that root, from the Latin word, which describes very much what is communication about. And when you think about why we need to communicate, and now my screen has just frozen. You saw that I was sharing my screen alone. I didn't need Benny for that. So I thought, oh, yes, great, it's working. But no, it's not.
Yeah, there is something in the, sometimes it does the same to me. It just becomes irresponsive. Then
Yeah,
it comes,
so Benny, please, for my last 3 slides, if you can share again. So there are different reasons why you need to communicate as an executive. The first level is informing.
I'm doing it. It's
Yeah, but that's okay. I know the slides. The first level is informing, okay? You need to inform people. You need to transmit information. And that's the easiest level, right? Because we do it the whole time long. You know, if you look to a day of work, probably we spend at least 60–70% of our time, you know, passing information, transmitting knowledge, relevant data. It can be to people in your team, it can be to your colleagues, it can be to your boss, it can be to your clients, to your stakeholders. But informing, transmitting, I would say, objective information is a big part of our communication. The next level is convincing. Convincing is already a little bit more tricky, right? Because it's not just that you pass an objective information, is that you have to persuade your audience of a perspective you are yourself convinced with. And then the next level is inspiring. It requires more talent, right? Because probably if you think of people you know and who are communicating, I mean, people who are informing, you know, not a lot probably. You know already less people who are really good at convincing. And you probably know people who are really bad at convincing. And then probably, you know, even few people who are good at inspiring. And then, of course, I mean, inspiring, we can think about a leader with a team or a CEO with a whole company. But everybody needs to inspire, you know? If you are good at inspiring, you motivate your colleagues. They will work better with you. They will be more motivated. Perhaps they will help you more. So inspiring is, I would say, the most challenging level of communication between informing, convincing, inspiring. It requires more talent, but also it's not just talent, because sometimes we think, oh, they are good communicators and there are people who are not so good. But like anything else, it's something you learn. You learn frameworks, you have to train. And the more you do it, and the more you do it intentionally, the more you get good at it. So this is things we'll be discussing along the sessions, but I wanted to make this short introduction to, you know, give you a little bit of vision here on that. And then the last slide here before I'm getting to Benny, if you already knew what I was going to write on these slides, why would you be interested? So the point here, you can pass the next, is that, I mean, you need to bring something new. If the person gets nothing from what you say, you will not hook them. You will not get them. I mean, we are living, and Benny will talk more about that afterwards when we talk about storytelling, but we live in a world where we are bombarded with informations, right? So, you know, if what you bring is nothing new to the person, if you don't reveal anything, you will not get them. Could be for informing them, convincing them, or inspiring them, you know, for the 3 levels. Okay, so let's go now. Benny will take over. He's already sharing the screen, so that's perfect. And then I will explain you for the activity that's coming after the content. Let's go.
Yes. Okay, so it's there is a comment from Eugenia saying, for me, inspiration was always far more than communication only. Yeah. We will touch upon that afterwards. But for a start, let me share with you. Well, my name is Benny. I did my video in the introduction, so I hope you saw it. Really thrilled to be here. Every time I have to, you know, go through and reason about any issue. I like to any theme. I like to frame it. So I've been working with creating a framework for this type of you know, content and interaction. And basically, I call it the KSMM. That is, we are going to try during the course to cover the knowledge that you need to, that is the basics of learning anything. And basically, there are 3 types of knowledge, the highest order knowledge being the consequential knowledge. Okay, so what, knowing this, now I understand the impact this type of theme or storytelling or communication will have, but also we need to apply it. But what governs the skills and the knowledge is not the skill of the knowledge in itself, is the mindset, how you engage with the world. And finally, we would love that you end the course with a little bit of meta learning. So some reflection on how you learn, how much do you absorb from what you learn, how much do you apply in practice. So reflecting on learning is a key part of learning, right? So it would be an omission if we don't touch upon that. How you learn and how fast do you learn? How fast do you transfer knowledge into skills? and how much are you aware of your mindset to govern your skills and your knowledge is a very important part of any course that you take in any place of the world. The other thing I would like to mention is there are two types of learning, and they happen in very different parts of the brain. So the cognitive learning, the type of learning that involves thinking, problem solving, it's a conscious effort, right? And you will need to obviously remember stuff, but apply them in terms of analyzing them, reflecting, discussing with others. We follow Franz Liszt's method of learning, that is learn by doing and learn with others. And the best thing is if you can have it a real world type of problem, then you are in an optimal position. But it happens, and this is relevant. This is not a, how you say, a biology class or nothing like that. But this type of learning happens in the prefrontal cortex, the newer part of our brain, and the hippocampus, that is where you store your memories. But the procedural learning that is related to skills is all about repeating and automatization. And once you acquire the habit, then it's much easier to do, but it takes a lot of repetition and automatization to do that. And unfortunately, the type of learning, and I'm saying unfortunately because any learning that you may have, it will have 3F: fear, failure, and frustration. And really it's fear, frustration, and failure. So if you're really learning something, you will have some fear before, then you will get frustrated, and finally you will fail. And because the failure comes with the procedural learning, that is a repetition. And it happens in the basal ganglia and the cerebellum, is the motor areas of the brain, is where you do stuff, right? So these 4 areas of competencies and these 2 areas of learning is what we are going to try to propose you do during this 4 weeks. And for that, it is important that, as Sabrina said, and we can never insist enough, you do the homeworks, and probably if you try to, some of the homeworks will be apply stuff, that you have to do stuff, go in the real world and make stuff. So let's go with a little bit of knowledge now. And to do that, I need to go back to a person that probably you never heard of, maybe you did, but this guy, Claude Shannon, was the architect of the information age. And I changed now he has a lot of pictures, obviously, but I changed this type of pic because the book he wrote is a mathematical theory of communication. For those who saw my video, you know that I'm a mathematician. I developed some work in computer science and econometrics. So I studied quite a bit of exact. So for me, it was a given to read this book. Programming in Fortran 4 and all this type of mathematical language, you had to know Claude Shannon, right? And the reason why we brought Claude Shannon to you is because I think that he brings a very clear framework and mental model to understand how communication works in reality. So in his information theory, he divides communication in 3 different moments. One is there is a source. Sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Benny.
Yeah, no, Jennifer,
what...
amazing. Sorry, I'm reading now. Yeah, no, amazing. I don't know.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, amazing connection. Yeah, Claude Shannon. Yeah. So there are these 3 things. Claude. Yeah, Claude is everywhere now, and the Anthropic thing. No, so yeah, information theory he said, look, you need to think in blocks. Now, remember one thing when I'm talking. The map is not the territory. Okay, so we do this abstraction of this simplification of reality. because our mind is able to create mental models. And mental models are very important, but they are not the territory. So it's impossible for a mental model to really replicate what happens. But if you work with abstractions, and some people have difficulties, not because they are less intelligent than others, but they live in the real world. So like you see stuff as they are. You don't see stuff as they could be. So abstraction, it's a way of trying to represent reality, okay? So I'm trying to represent, Claude represent reality like in every communication, in every, there is information flow. And the information flow has a source, a channel, and a destination. But between the source and the channel, there is some energy going, flowing. And then between the channel and the destination, there is energy in the form of an individual. Now someone is transmitting and someone is receiving. So I would like to engage you now in thinking about this model, and please open your mic or write in the chat if you may. Which of these 5 elements is the most challenged part in your daily job? So, when you say, okay, you think you as a source of information, like in my case, for example, I think I'm not very good communicating, right? So I struggle with the source, right? So being a good source of information and all. But sometimes I'm as a destination, I'm too, distracted. So I would like you to connect with this model and try to link it and to connect it with your challenge, if this is possible, please.
Are we the sources or the transmitters when we start the communication?
You have a source and then a transmitter. Okay, you have a source and it cannot, it doesn't transmit, then there is no communication. So you need a source, and then the source needs to use a transmitter to communicate through a channel, and then someone needs to use a receiver. Imagine in a very simple way, a source is me, the transmitter is the phone, the channel is the phone line, and then the receiver is there is a audio phone there, and you receive it, and then there is a destination. It could be you.
I find the most challenging is the transmitter in what is going to be, and maybe I'm confusing transmitter and channel, but what is going to be the medium that comes across most effectively for the receiver to absorb and get them to the destination. So for me, I think it's the transmitter.
Good. Thank you.
For me, I would say it depends, right? Because sometimes you can be the source, right? But when you're presenting something, right, you can give other messages, right, that would come through the channel or transmitter, right? So that's kind of like sometimes it depends, or whether you're also communicating right as a source. So for me, it would be kind of like in between those. Mm-hmm.
Philip said destination can be a hard thing to reach. Yeah, exactly. Who else?
Maybe for me, I think the destination part is the hardest, because you may get everything right in terms of the source and how you transmit and which channel you use, etc. But at the end of the day, there's a variety of audiences at the end, which is the destination. And it's difficult to control how the audience will interpret the information that is being shared. And because it's so open to interpretations by everyone because of their perspectives and their backgrounds, etc., I find the destination the hardest, because you can get everything right, but it might still be interpreted very differently from your original intention. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea with this is for you to connect with this model because it's not immediate that you understand that one thing is to send a message, then you need to codify it, then it needs to travel through a channel, and then it needs to be decoded, and then there is a destination where the message is finally understood. Okay, so what Claude said, and Sabrina, you discovered that Claude was called by Claude Shannon. Yeah, amazing. So congrats. I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm a fan of Claude Shannon, but I didn't know that. So yeah, great. So, but Claude Shannon, with all the marvelous things he did, and he was an amazing person and all, he lived in a different world. So when you bring today's reality to his model, you understand that there is not noise. There is not only noise in the channel, like he said or he stated, because he was absolutely focused on the noise that was in the channel. Okay, and so he was trying to reduce the level of uncertainty. So this is a good thing about mathematicians. We always work with probabilities, so we would never be 100% sure that the message was transmitted. But so he created things like redundancy, everything, the concept of bits and bytes and everything. He was a great fan of Boolean algebra. So, but today, and into a more concrete stuff, we know there is noise everywhere, not only in the channel, and we know there are things like messages can have paradox, can have opposing truth contradictions. But when you codify, when you code, and remember he was at his time there was this language, mathematical language. It was a wonderful. It is still used by the NASA for aerodynamics in the rockets. Now Artemis, for example, uses Fortran 4. There's no language created after that. It was so ponted to invert a matrix. These type of things you need to do when you are working on a lot of computing mathematical formulas. So now the codification is very interesting because there are words that mean two different things to two different persons, or different words to name the same thing. So there is a cultural context, and obviously when you are transmitting and you are coding, there are intentions, there are the way you think. Like now I'm communicating my thinking. If you pay enough attention, you will see, okay, how does Benny thinks because of the way he express. So the point is that we want to make is, if you want to communicate very clearly, the first thing you need to be aware is the restrictions, is the noise that exists all over the communication. So the first thing I would like you to think about is that the biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it occurs. So a lot of people think that because they send an email or they just talk to someone, I'm not sure if in my case, for example, the more I know the person, the more I need to make sure that my communication, what I say to the person, was not filtered by a shortcut. So especially with my wife, and when she talks to me, I need to be very aware that probably she's filtering, oh, this is coming from Benny. So, for example, there is this joke that Veronica will tell me, hey, you need to put your clothes in the drawer. And I never put the clothes in the drawer. And she will come back, I told you 100 times. Well, I didn't listen, So this is a type of filter, and this is why this phrase from Bernard Shaw is so amazing, that you need to be very careful because you tend to fool yourself. Did you really communicate that to the person? Because there is noise everywhere, all around. Cognitive bias, for example. So
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät und das Gerät. Überlebensradar.
Can you hear us? We are thinking. We are think.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
Thinking. We're thinking.
What are you thinking about?
So I'm nothing against German, so please don't get offended or language here. It's just a little joke, okay? So it happens to me. I'm not for example, I live between São Paulo and New York, and so my mother language is Spanish. So imagine the difficulties I have in talking in Portuñol or talking in English. So sometimes people make fun of my accent, and I'm okay with that. But I know that even in my mother language, I could be misunderstood. Imagine now we are in a group of people that maybe there are, I think, 2 or 3 people, they have mother language, but Sabrina is French, I'm Uruguayan, so there are people from all over the world. So language and accents are so a big problem. So the thing is, noise is a cultural phenomenon. It's everywhere, and if the way we think could be noisy also. There is this wonderful book from Kahneman. It was the last book he wrote before he died. And yeah, it's very interesting for us to understand that unless we are aware of the noise and we develop some strategies to minimize noise, the likelihood of our communication reach the destination is very low. So we are proposing 4 ways of mitigating noises. We will explore them more during the course. The first one is clarifying and aligning. Okay, so here we're using English, but imagine if each of us would be talking in different language. But obviously the language is the way we use the language comes from is going to be different, because unless you are your mother tongue is English, you were born and raised thinking with another structures, right? So the language is a structure of thinking. So we need to align on cause and meaning and objective of the communication. The other thing is we are full of bias, like I said, and both the sender and the receiver. So having some at least a minimum awareness of which are your bias and which are the bias of the other person is very important. Like I said before the dialogue with Veronica, with my wife. And then obviously there are technical interference during on the channel, no? And we will talk about the media is a message. So how you are a message and how you are a channel in yourself. And finally, there is nothing that can help more in communication than have empathy and understanding about the other person, right? So when someone is talking to you, having a very active listening and trying to see the person as a whole, not just what the person is saying, is very important, because the one difference we have with AI is we can understand context. If I look at Hugo now, Hugo, I'm making in my mind a lot of assumption that could be dangerous because there are my bias, but a computer or an artificial intelligence will never be able to understand context. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can see context and can I make hypotheses about you. And I could try to get more, as we talk, to develop empathy, to try to understand you more, right? And this is not only the semantics, it's a lot of semiotics, the way you look, the way you move. There is a very good thinker that is called Polanyi, that he quotes a very enigmatic thing once, and he said, "We know more than we can tell." I don't know if it is written in our DNA or if it is something that is kind of entanglement thing that we are all connected, but you know a lot about the people that are in this room, even though if you never met them. But to understand them, you need to intentionally focus on that person when you are connecting with that, right? And this is a metabolic effort. It's very important when you are listening actively to another person. So these four things are just, four very simple things that you can start doing, but we will explore more during the course. And now we're going to do an activity that Sabrina is going to guide, and I will continue clicking this.
Keep sharing if you can. Great. So we'll give you a scenario, okay, which is the following one. I will not read it through, but like it's a company having a new tool and communicating about this new tool to the teams, okay? This will be also in the Miro, okay? We'll be working with Miro in this session and any of the other sessions. So you have a scenario, and then go in the next slide, Benny. You will read the scenario together as a little team, and then we've just put some elements that what is the transmitter? So it's like the executive board, the internal communication department. They want to pass a message. They are using different channels, and they are the receivers, which are the all company employees, which probably are from different countries, okay? This is a situation, okay? A scenario where a company is communicating. You can go to the next, it's okay. So the activity is the following. You will have 15 minutes in groups so that you can map the potential noises in this communication flow, okay? Think about where the message could be distorted, misinterpreted, like whatever kind of noise could be in the source, in the transmitter, in the channels, in the receiver. Like there are a lot of different places where noise can appear, okay? You have also to think during these 15 minutes of what are possible strategies to minimize these noises, okay? So if you would be the communication team of this company, what would you do differently so that you have an higher chance that the communication goes properly to the receivers, that they understand it, and that they have the change of behaviors, which is expected by the company. Okay, makes sense to everyone? I'm sharing in the chat the link to the Miro board, okay? You can enter in it, and then you will see that every team, every group will have a little place to work, a little frame. Okay, so I've put the 3 slides of the scenario on the top and the instructions, and then you have a little frame for each group. You don't know yet in which group you are because I'm, changing for every activity so that you get to know everyone. But we'll have groups of 3 or 4 people, and then you have one side of your frame where you can identify the potential noises, and then one side where you can think about potential strategies. You can put numbers between the post-its, or you can put colors. You organize yourself as you want. It's just like, something visual to help you collaborate and structure your discussions. But it's don't stress yourself with the tool. It's just like something to help you discuss and put written what are your findings. Okay? 15 minutes in breakouts. Any questions? No? All good? So let's go. Hope everybody has managed to enter the Miro. If not, I think one can share in the group and the other ones can look at the screen in case someone really has big difficulties with Miro.
And there is a panic button, no? A panic button you can call
yes.
us anytime.
Good point, Benny. There is a panic button in case you have really lost, there is a problem. You can call us and then we jump in and help you. Okay?
Good luck.
Let's go. Good luck. We'll put the timer also in the launch here, the recording. Okay, so now we have everybody's back. Excellent. So I would like to listen perhaps 1 or 2 voices. How was it? How was it to think about noises and to think about strategies? Not asking on the what you've mapped, but more on the how is it to think about noises? Is it something you do usually? Who wants to start?
I really liked it, but especially also working in a team to to brainstorm together and hear other people's perspective. I haven't been thinking about noises in that way, but I felt that as soon as we got started on what could be some challenges and maybe some other experiences that we had on each part, I thought it was quite nice to get the, how do you say, to ideate on that and then turn those negative noises into a positive strategy, I think.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I can share. Of course, it was very nice. Also to share to co-create actually together. And also I saw one phrase we use it. You mean that, or you want to say about this? So we just validate we are all on the same page for this one to conclude and to move to the next step. And also, yeah, it was very easy on this way to communicate and very short time to put it actually that activity. I really enjoyed it. Yes.
And you see, short sprints, we do sprints in general between 10 and 15 minutes. So it's always very short sprints. But these collective intelligence, just, the juices are coming together and you are able to map a lot of things in this very short time. I invite you to have a look at the Miro after, in the next days to see like what the other groups have mapped. Are there noises that we have not identified within our group that the others have identified, or like strategies that could be perhaps original or different than what you have thought, okay? And then here comes my invitation for you guys that most of the time we build communication in a hurry, and we don't spend time enough, even if it's like 15, 30 minutes to, just stop and just look at like what could go wrong? What could be a pre-mortem of our communication, especially here on this scenario, which is like a company communication. But that's the same when you have an important message, like how can you map, just like Benny was showing, very easily mapping the flow and thinking where it could go wrong. What could be the noises? Because then it helps you also identify how you can adjust and adapt your communication to avoid these noises to happen. Yeah, make sense? Okay, I will try to share my screen. Let's see if I can pass the slides. We have conduct in the last years a lot of discussions with leadership, with people in companies, mainly in this in-company trainings we are doing, and we have identified main challenges that people are facing that are most common, that probably some of them you are facing too, that I want to bring to your awareness so that you can have them in your mind and try to perhaps avoid them, or like try to, overcome these main challenges. So the first one, which is pretty common, is simply the fear we have when we speak in public, And why do we feel some fear when we speak in public? It's because we come to be the center of attention. We are exposed, we are vulnerable in front of others. We are being watched now when we are presenting in a room of like 10, 15 people, or even 200. Everybody is looking at us. And this, for the human brain, is perceived as an existential threat. Why? Because when we come back thousands of years ago, when something was looking at you, it was to attack you. So these stares to you, very, very, very like staying on you the whole time, your brain does not like it. So this threat is activating something in your brain, which tells like you are in danger, which most of the time you are not, most of our presentations are not so bad. Coming to that, we like very much this quote from Harper Lee. She was saying like courage for real is when you're already defeated before you even start, but you start anyway and follow through to the end, no matter what happens. And this can be applied pretty much to communication, to presentations. I mean, your brain will feel this as a threat. You step out of your comfort zone, but you have to gather the courage to go on stage anyway and make your presentation. It's not always easy. it gets better with the years and with the experience and with the practice and with many frameworks. But anyway, even the most experienced people say that they are always feeling like butterflies in their stomachs when they are going on stage and making an important presentation. So this is one of the challenges we all face as humans, and we have to learn some techniques, but this is part of the game. We've mapped some other challenges. There are 6 here, and I will go through them one by one. First is, most of the time we lack time to structure our messages, because we are rushing from one meeting to the next, from one strategic decision to the other one. And this makes that we don't take proper time to structure how we want to say something. In general, we prepare what we want to say, the content, but we don't think of the how, So our messages are poorly worded. Sometimes we write emails, we write impulsive responses, and this really does not help our communication, which can be broken, can pass like misaligned with other people. And this is not just because of the receiver. This is because of us, because we don't invest sufficient time to make our communication intentional. The second challenge is about information overload. This is noise, as I was saying before. I mean, we have so many things that come to us every day. Corporate messages like email, Slack, WhatsApp, meetings, dashboards. I mean, there's so many things that all communication is lost amidst this information overload that all receivers get every day. I mean, just Instagram or all the things, we are bombarded with information. So it gets even more difficult for us to get out of this ocean of information. Benny was saying that the worst thing with communication is you think it actually happened, but perhaps your receiver has not even listened to you or not even read your email. So it's not because you just send an email or you say something that you can consider that the communication has been made, unfortunately. The third challenge we've heard a lot in the last years is the fear of being misinterpreted, misunderstood. We see more and more polarization in the world. I've put the Democrats, Republicans picture on the side, but there are many other social or cultural issues that makes communication sensitive, difficult, touchy. Even between cultures. That's also another layer. If you work in an international context, it's adding a layer of complexity. Okay, so sometimes because we are afraid of being misinterpreted, we don't position ourselves clearly enough. We have also the challenge of having diverse audiences. Okay, you have different levels in the hierarchy, right? You cannot communicate in the same way to the board of directors and to operational teams of people who are really technical and stakeholders who just want to know how this is aggregating to the business, to the results of the company. As I said, you have also different cultures. So you cannot discuss in the same way with people in China or in the US, or even between France and Brazil. It's completely different. So if you don't understand that, or if you don't plan with that, again, in an intentional way, your power of influence and impact is reduced. Because you don't have this systemic vision, holistic vision of what comes into communication. Another layer of complexity is remote and hybrid communication. Many companies post-COVID did not come back to 100% presential. When you are with the camera, there are a lot of non-verbal cues that are difficult to grasp. And this weakens the connection you have with other people. You are not communicating or connecting with people as humans. You know, these 5 minutes before the meeting where you were discussing about the weekend or the children or the holidays or whatever. You lose them when you are on remote because you connect in the session in the meeting with your colleagues, and most of the time you start directly with the execution, with what is the topic of the meeting. In the presential world, in the physical world, it's different. Okay, so we write much more messages. Instead of saying things, calling people, we write them on Slack, on WhatsApp, on emails. And this can be misinterpreted because you don't have the tone of voice, you don't have the facial expressions. Of course, you put some emojis, but this is tricky. And then the last one here is dealing with resistance and conflict. When you are in the hierarchy, in the organization, in a position where you have teams, you are executive, your responsibility is to transmit, bring information you don't always agree with, news that are not always very popular, decisions which have been taken, organizational changes, budget cuts, and you are the one to bring that. So you have to handle resistance, strong emotions. People can reject what you are bringing. This is also a challenge you have to handle. Does it make sense, these different challenges? Do you feel them, or like some of them in your day-to-day? Yeah. So what we'll be working through these 4 weeks together is different frameworks and techniques so that, and everything is connected. Because when you want to handle these different challenges, of course, you need intentionality, you need awareness, but you can use, having understood how neuroscience, structured communication, learning some techniques of storytelling, learning how to build connection and rapport with people, how you persuade, how you use your voice, your body language. All of this is part of how you equip yourself with a toolbox of communication so that you can handle these challenges. Okay, so this is really what we'll be seeing, and you will see everything is connected. And when you start using some of the tools, you can work on these challenges and try to reduce them, try to overcome them in the way you communicate. Good, so it's already more than 1.5 hours we are together. So I will give you a short break. Okay, let's say 7 minutes, it's okay? We come back at 50, yes? Take a water, stretch a little bit, go to the toilets. Please stay in the call. So just close your camera and close your mic. And then at 50, punctual, we come back and we go with storytelling. Okay? See you soon. Okay, so who is back? Can open back the camera, please, or drop a little message in the chat so that we know you're here. So I see Tanya, Alison, Monse, Just, Renia, Jacob. Just, how do you pronounce your name? Help me. I need to learn it.
Joost.
Joost. Joost? Is it correct?
Yeah, Joost. I'm working with like people from all over the world. So I listen to all variations. So that's all fine.
Okay. Good. So Jacob is here, Mina, Nana, Ben, Philip. Great. So we are waiting for Benito. Hugo is here too. Javier, Alex.
I'm here.
Amazing.
I forgot to take out the camera.
Good. So you can take over, Benny. It's with you now. The recording is working. Let's go.
Okay. So the first part was more about noises, and there is this famous phrase in behavioral design, right? That people will be more elastic or will pay more attention to pains than gains. and probably this is something that is in our brain, right? We've been designed that way, right? So, but obviously we started from noises that in a way are the pains, the difficulties. But now we are going to go into a different mindset in terms of, okay, so how we can leverage and how can we use like gains or vitamins or something that we can add to the story so we make it more palatable, more more likely. Like, and for this, we need obviously a little bit of storytelling because, as we know, we live in the attention economy and everything becomes history or is swallowed by the flood of information, right? If you don't bring a story, there is this thing about recent advancement in neuroscience that says that basically our brain, the way it works, is a story processor. And what does this mean? Basically, we think we are logical human beings, but we are totally rational. And it's not against data or information or objectivity. But the reality is when you talk numbers, when you talk logic, there are basically two areas of the brain that engage, Broca and Wernicke. And if you follow me, try to picture your brain that is lightened up like in two areas. You say, well, yeah, no, I understand that. But when you talk stories, a lot more areas of the brain get engaged. And this is pure sheer volume, what I'm talking about. I'm not looking at very, rocket science, neuroscience. No. If you think about this, the more your part of the brain are engaged, the more aware you are. Okay? So if you have just two parts of the brain engaged, you are not really into the story. But look at this. If you are seeing colors and shapes, sounds, you feel like you are moving. And if you doubt me, please think about the last time you saw an amazing movie. You were inside the story. You were feeling the story. It's not like you are rationally understanding. So, and the reality is that stories are the things that you are going to remember. You will never remember a statistic unless it is tied to an emotional story, because reasons, they bring conclusions, and that is good because we like to think ourselves like a very rational people. But the reality is emotion is what brings action. And Sabrina, remember we were discussing the other day in Portuguese, emoções, ações. And you told me, but Benny, inside emoções, there is no word action, right? But in emotion, there is the word action. Motion means you are moving, right? And so inside emotion is being moved by. And basically what you want is people to come to your story and do things together. So basically, when we talk about stories, we are going to try to map another mental model that is, you need to know where to start, right? And it takes a lot of discipline, my friends, but if you want to tell a story, you need to be aware of the power of the story. So the first place where you need to start is, how does this story change people's life? Okay, very simple. Benny, I have to make a presentation to my boss. Yeah, but how does this presentation change the guy's life? Because it could happen, unfortunately, that you go to war with a candy. You have nothing. There is no change. You have nothing. You can entertain people, make them laugh, tell stories, but if you want to engage people, they need to think or to feel that this is going to change something. Okay, so I'm doing a presentation to my boss, and this will increase his employability because he is going to take credit for that, or he's going to present it to a higher level. Or maybe he's just feeling, okay, so this is fulfilling my dream of helping people. It could be a good thing. It doesn't have to be a narcissistic type of crazy psychopath thing. Because I normally, I'm sorry, I don't have a boss now, but I used to think that all my bosses were psycho, right? Because there is 4 more times chances of having a psychopath as a boss than having a colleague. So sometimes my bias is transmitted through my language, right? So maybe the guy is a good guy or the woman is a good woman, and he just wants to fulfill his dream of, bringing happiness to the world. But he or she needs to feel that it's going to change people's life. So the best thing to and the most simple thing to understand that is you need to start with why. And the golden circle is very, very useful for this because, again, it ties to my previous slide on reasoning will bring you conclusions. But, it's emotions that will bring you action. And emotions are tied to why, not to what. So when we say, if you want to be a good storyteller, if you want to increase the gains in your communication, if you want to have a more powerful communication, once you reduce, erase, or mitigate your bias, your noises, you need to start with a very powerful why, and this is communicating from inside out. So you start from the center of the circle, not from the center of yourself, right? So the more altruistic are your things, or the more less self-oriented is, you have more chances. Unless you're going to talk to someone and say, hey, look, this story is all about me. How boring, no? You tell a story to someone that is all about you and your narcissistic thoughts. So if we work with Microsoft during a time with not directly with Satya, with people that work for him, and he was very worried about having Microsoft as a company as know-it-all. So he wanted to change that and move it to a culture of continuous learning. I have a daughter that works for GitHub. So GitHub is a Microsoft company. So and I was discussing with her the other day if she saw this, and she's now, Catalina is 29 years old now. She's a computer science and design, and she was telling me that one of the reasons GitHub has a special culture also, but she liked she doesn't want to have people reporting to her. It's amazing, no? But she was telling me that one of the things she liked a lot is that she learns new stuff all the time. So if you want, in Microsoft, you can learn a lot, either from quantum computing, whatever. You can learn a lot of things. And this is because they created the what, that is, mentoring programs, emotional intelligence training, promoted diversity, all these things, they were the what. But the why was worried. He was worried, this guy, about having this know-it-all. Because if you are working in Microsoft, or in other corporations, you are someone that is good, right, at what you do. And the how is interesting because there is this law of adaptability that says that, well, I wrote it, so it says that we are doomed to fail as individuals. The only way we're going to have success is collectively. And so there were a lot of collaboration and eliminating this closest territory. This was very hard. Now, let me give you another example. You need to present a new solution to the client, and you can start saying, oh, our software will allow your team to reduce blah, 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 blah. But if you start from purpose and you can connect this, I'm here to help you operate more efficiently and reducing operating costs. So for you, it's all about if this will bring your employability and your your value in the company if you work with me a lot higher. So there is this first step of having a central message, right? So when you will be working on your cases, remember that this has to be very clear. And if by chance you don't find a very appealing central message, at least you know you are going to work with a candy, right? So you are in a very difficult. There are other ways, right? But the most direct and powerful is you are going to change something in the people that are listening to you. Okay? Are we good there? Let me see your faces for a minute. Do we agree? Just, you are laughing. What's going on with you? What you're thinking? You are not.
No, I liked your bridge to go to our faces and see our reaction.
Okay. So what do you think is your, in your line of work, what changed in people's life? What do you do that changed people's life? Try to connect that.
For me now?
Yeah, it could be anything. Just to do it.
So I'm a designer at a bank. I design the transaction overview. And I think there's a lot of misconception about the importance of a clear transaction overview to get control over your finances. So that's something that I really would like to instill more in people when we're talking about the features. So not just the dry, hey, this is the feature, we show transactions, but more on why we're actually wanting to improve those features.
Exactly. That is very good because there is a question from Alison. I'll go to you, Ben, in a minute. That she's like, it needs to be grand. No, look, you need to connect. If you could connect to the purpose or a big, that's amazing. But the feature can be as small as this is a little bit, but this is a step further, down the road of improving life of our clients. And obviously you don't need to do a full discourse on that, but just like a side note, this is in that direction because it builds more kind of engagement. Thank you, Just. Ben, what's your name, Ben? You are Benny like me, Benito? No, you are Benjamin.
Benito. Benjamin. Yeah. Benjamin. Not Benito. I used to be Benito once in a while. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. People called me Benito.
Amazing name. Now it's Benito is this guy who is the rabbit, no?
The rabbit, Benito Rabbit. Yeah.
No, the singer.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. Yeah. Benito the rabbit. Yeah. That's cool again. When I was as a German, Benito was always referred to Benito Mussolini, and then I thought, meh.
Yeah, well, my family, I'm Italian, so you can guess. But you know that Benito name came to Mussolini because his father was a socialist, and he took it from Benito Juarez, that was a socialist. So the Nazi guy took the name from a socialist guy. How cool is that? But yeah. So that's why I'm called Benito, because Juarez, not from Mussolini.
Better. No, I was thinking about what you said about his apps and he's doing, and then the features, and he's presenting the features. And there's one thing that struck me, and Steve Jobs. I mean, we have to quote somewhere. Steve Jobs said, "You communicate the benefits and not the features." So when you have an app and you don't talk about the feature that you put into your app, you talk about what does the benefit bring to the consumer. So, and then you can talk about the feature. It doesn't matter, but the benefit should be focused. I thought it was. I use that a lot in my work.
Because then you are doing that connection on what changes in people's life. A feature is not as clear as a benefit. So this you can very clearly tie the benefit to the change, not the feature. The feature in itself is what with that? Thank you for that. Yeah, great point. So now I'm going to go through a different mode that is, okay, now you have your central message. how do you unfold your central message in a narrative structure? There are different type of narrative structure. You can choose them. And it will depend on your moment and the context, which one do you choose? So now you need to have repertoire, but also the ability to tie the narrative structure to the context. And it's not black or white, but there are some nuance. But it's a level of, I agree, it's kind of a level of sophistication that we are bringing, okay? So if you have a central message, that's the first part. Then in the second, how will, I make the best of this central message through a different narrative arcs, okay? So look, narrative arcs, basically, they start with Aristoteles. And in his book, he said, look, every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The beginning is obviously where, when, who, what. Then the why. Because if you don't bring context, you agree with me, no? So how are we going to explain a why if there is no context? There needs to be something, a pain and something. And then you say to where and you reinforce the why. Okay? So this is a very basic one, and it's based on that everything has an obstacle, a challenge that you need to overcome. Okay, and there is this we like to say there is this climax. I don't know how you pronounce it, but basically this is the center of the story. But the story needs the arrow of time. And if you know a little bit of theoretical physics, you know there are three things that are all over around us all the time: superposition, entanglement, but there is entropy. So without entropy, we will be still, we wouldn't exist, because it's the degradation of the system that goes through time. So in a way, you are creating a negative entropy. So you are seeing a situation that is going to deteriorate, and that conundrum, that tension is a climax. And then through transformation, you create a better future. So in a way, every story you are telling is a foresight. You are creating a future. Because you can explain in the past and you can bring peace of mind. Okay, so I understood. But if in the past, the anticipation, the newness, there is the neuroplasticity that comes from what is about to happen won't come. So I would say this is a classic one. Then there are variations of the classic one. That is when you, instead of having this climax, you create a circle. And this comes from the famous Joseph Campbell, the Power of the Myth, where he say, look, there is this polarity about we live in an ordinary world, but in a way we are all exceptional, right? So everyone can wear a mask, like when Spider-Man dies, right? There is this course, and Mary Jane is having a discourse, and he say that Peter thought that anyone could wear a mask. So I think we all live in the ordinary world, but we can all be in a hero journey. Not to be a hero, it's a hero journey that is different. So you have a call to adventure, you refuse a call, then you have a mentor, it helps you cross the circle, then you approach the secret cave, and then you somehow gain a reward, and you come back and you resurrect, and then you go back to ordinary world. Okay, so is a pendulum movement in life, right? And maybe you will recognize this. I don't know if you saw or you read Tolkien's The Lord of the Ring, but basically you have the mentor, you have Frodo as the hero, and if you remember the way that the ring is destroyed, no, I don't want to, spoil you, but it's not because Frodo was able to to throw, it was Gollum that ate his finger and he fall into the abyss, destroying the ring. So there is a story about, and this is Tolkien's obviously incredible storytelling, that the good and the bad, they are just two faces of the same coin, right? Because it's Gollum that allows it's not Frodo, right? So for business, it's very simple. You have a status quo, and you are in that status quo because that's okay. You reach that, but there are new opportunities, and then you will go through a crisis every time you want to implement anything, and then you embrace paradox. You come broader and bigger, and then you're able to create a new formula. So it's like a spiral. Then there is a story spine. So this is more linear, and it's like a song. If you like to sing, tan-tana, 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 it's like this. Once upon a time, every day, it's like a cadence, right? One day and one day, then, and because of this, it's like pakate, 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 pakate. It's enter into a rhythm, and maybe there is like an internal clock when you say tick tock, if you want to improve your HRV, you need to do coherence breathing. For example, coherent breathing is rhythmic stuff. So this one is rhythm, blah 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 blah. So it's I will explain when is better to use, but like if you want to do it in a company, you frame it like this way. Okay, so you have a pain, a problem, and then what, and then what, and then what, and then until one day. So you get this sense of we were like hitting a wall, and then one day you have this, and then you move into another realm. Emerging is obviously is for the ADHD world. TikTok is doing it very well, where you get your peak in the first 3 or 4 seconds. So you design the narrative act to have peaks very quick. You don't build the story because you lose people. They have the attention span of a goldfish that is, I think this is reducing now from 7 seconds to 3 seconds. Then there is a parallelism that is very good. I like it a lot. And it's another rhythmic, but you go back to what could be, what is, what could be, what is. It's like a dream, right? So it's like dreaming and then confronting with reality, dreaming and confronting with reality. It's not a line of time. It's like you are in the same time. It's different from story spine, that is time going through. You are living in the same second, but you are suffering from the frustration of that reality that needs to be changed. So there is a central message there. You see that there is a central message in all these stories, right? If there is no central message, there is no what could be. If nothing is going to change, you don't have what could be. So probably you won't be able to use this parallelism. And the most famous example is I Have a Dream from Martin Luther King. And then the last one is the manifesto one. This is okay. So basically, you are going to create a climax and you end with the climax. So you end in the middle of the climax. So the climax needs to be at the same time the proposition, the call to action. Okay, and let me show you one.
We don't hear the sound, Benny.
When scattered dots connect,
yeah. Yeah.
masterpiece is born. Sounds harmonized. An enchanting symphony is created in all. When calm water embraced the wind, a wave of imagination takes flight. infinite possibilities come to life. Distinct features harmonize as one. Integrated excellence. This is why we are determined to integrate exceptional technologies into one. Designing a platform as the canvas for the future. We breathe new energy into every movement with fresh inspiration. Empowering all with the gift of mobility. Transcending the wonders of today. We create the future mobility platform as the foundation of all movements. The one for all mobility.
So these are the 6 storylines you're going to see in your next exercise. So you're going to be able to choose one. But let me give you some. You can take a picture of this, or yeah, you know, it's just an idea. It's probably wrong, but what I use is the classic narrative. Is sometimes it's for report, executive presentations. Yeah, the story spine is more for communication with teams, institutional. I like it to use it that way because it gets you some emotional connection, and there is a journey there. The hero is more like leadership related, or when you have a hero like a product. Yeah. Emerging narrative. Well, then I like, you know, it's more phony in a way, right? You get the instant attention, but you have the time to really create connection or meaning. But sometimes you need to be phony. You need to use non-sanctum type of ways of getting very ADHD people converted. So it's important that no, I know some people that they are very difficult to engage because they have they are neurodiverse. That works. And then parallel structure, I think maybe it's because of I don't know, I like this a lot. So if I have to do a keynote or thing, I would use that a lot. I will come back and I will hammer on the main proposition, how the work could be, and I will try to make it very painful for people to see how it is not there yet. And the manifesto is good also for some, team, because you mobilize, you get more you get more belonging, you more purpose, you feel with that high, note, embracing whatever you want to generate. Okay. Any comments so far? Makes sense to you that at the end of the day, it's not as important as having a central message, but there are different ways of expressing it. And sometimes I think that yeah, you need to consider your audience also to see which one. Jacob, what do you think about this? I haven't heard your voice yet. Yeah.
You're missing my voice. No, I was just copying. I took a screenshot of the thing. I think it's nice to see different techniques. I'm trying to sometimes see what I've been using myself. I think in my presentation, when I do a presentation, I think I've been using mostly like the story spine. I see that's more like a classic storytelling technique, like really explaining the once upon a time there was this. I'm a very detailed person, so I like to get all details in. Not everyone likes it, but
you like details. You like details.
I like details, maybe more than the common person. So that's also, I was talking to Javier and Eugene. And that was one of my stinky fish, that I might be too detailed, like to add too much to the story. So sometimes for me, it's like keeping it dense. So for me, it's nice to see that there's different techniques as well, because I didn't notice that in the past. So I haven't been deep diving too much into it. So it's definitely something I would like to test out as well, like to create different stories utilizing different techniques. It's really helpful also with this overview to when to use it in business. So thank you for that.
That is very interesting what you just said, Checo, because we all have a preference, and this should be a good opportunity for you to see which one do you like. Because sometimes you tend to have this bias of using the same technique always because you like it, and that's fine. But maybe your audience needs a different one this time. So this type of training that we're doing now it helps. It all starts with us. Like, what do we like and what do we tend to do when we are in a hurry? You know, because in perfect life, you have time. Oh, now I'm going to see. But then you have to do a presentation. You have 1 hour and you will go into default. It's good. So asking yourself, which one is like you say, story spine. So for each of you, my question would be, if you have to choose 1 or 6, I'm going to put them back. And I would like if you could write in the chat for a minute, which one do you like most? So it's just a silly exercise just to, bring some awareness on which one. Like I say, mine is parallelism. Jacob is story spine. The others?
I'm dropping in the chat. Philip is classic.
Classic. Hero, Monse. All different. Nice. So story spine and classic are winning. Yeah, three votes each. Oh, story spine won. Well, 5-4, I think. Yeah.
And I think the comment from Alison is good. Like, I realized I use classic a lot because sometimes you just do it naturally that you don't even know that you are using a narrative arc. That's the point. Or so that our objective is to bring you some kind of expanding the possibilities. But sometimes you are already creating a narrative without putting a name on it. So that's exactly the point. What we want.
Wait, let me do an analogy. So, for example, you want to be very buff, no? You want to have the 6-pack, and you want to go to the beach. So you need some hygiene stuff, right? So this is a noise part. You need to understand that there is noise everywhere, and sometimes you have the illusion that you have communicated something and it didn't happen. So that is one thing that you need to tick in the box. The second part is to leverage your message. You need to make sure, or you need to measure the power of your central message. If you don't have nothing changing in people's life, well, you are in a different situation that when you have some powerful, and then you unfold it through a narrative. And the narrative needs to be looking at what is going on in your audience. But like we said, if we like something, we have more chances to communicate that with passion and with energy and with pace. So I'm not saying you need to change the way you like, but you need to be aware which are your preferences. Okay? Thank you very much. I hope that you are kind of connecting with what we are trying to learn today, reducing noises, getting leverage on the message, and then on the unfolding of the message through a narrative arc.
I would add to your point, Benny, also that in general, when we are on automatic pilot, we do things that we like because we feel more comfortable with using one technique or another. You have always, you need first to get out of the comfort zone, to try something new, could be a narrative arc, could be anything else, so that you get to know it, you get to experiment it, and then you gain some confidence and you use it with more, with more property, like you are more at ease using one arc or another, or one technique or another. So it's also something where you need to get out of the comfort zone, because if not, you always stay to the same. And then perhaps it's, as Benny was saying, you perhaps it's not the most appropriate to this audience or to this specific case. So we've shown these 6 different narrative arcs with these examples. Oh, it's Tolkien, or it's what it's called, the fish of Disney. I forget the name. Nemo. Thank you. I read on your lips, Nemo. That's a good one. Now we want you to practice a little bit these narrative arcs in contexts that are more corporate, because sometimes people say, no, okay, I understand with Tolkien, the hero journey, but how do I apply this in my context, in the corporate context? So we will be doing an activity now. I'm sharing the link of the Miro, but I will share my screen so that I can show you the instructions. Okay, so the idea of the activity is that we'll divide you into groups, just like always. I think you start to get used to it, right? We'll divide you into groups, and then each group will get a situation, a fictitious scenario. And then you need to see, okay, what are the different types of narrative arcs we have in these 6 different narratives, and which one I could use for this specific context, for this specific scenario, okay? There is no right or wrong, okay? I've seen many groups applying very different narrative arcs to these scenarios, and I've never seen something really bad, okay? So there is no right or wrong. How is it structured in the Miro? I've copy-pasted on the top one slide of Benny's explanation for each of the narrative arcs, because it's hard to remember all of them, right? So you have them on the top. And then in the bottom part, each group has a scenarios and then a place with like 8 post-its so that you can create your speech, your storytelling, following the narrative arc you are choosing, okay? So giving the example of group 1. Group 1 will get presentation of a new project to the executive board, okay? You are part of a team that developed a new strategic project for the company, and you need to present it to the executive board. Your challenge is to create a convincing narrative to demonstrate the problem the project solves, the expected impact, and why it deserves priority, okay? Group 2 will have a different one, group 3 will have a different one, etc. You can perhaps put in the first post-it which narrative arc you have chosen as a group, and then you can use the following post-its to make the different steps, okay? You don't need to write it in very detail, okay? But just like what would be the steps of your storytelling when you are following this arc. All good? Yeah? So 15 minutes. We are doing, let me check, 4 groups, 4 or 3 people per group, and then I will give you 15 minutes. Also putting the 15 minutes in the Miro for you to know when it's finished. Okay, let's go. So I will open the rooms right now. And Eugenia said that she has been called by her son, so she will be back with you in the group 2 with Alison, Javier, and Mina right after. So opening right now. I will put the timer here in the Miro. Guys, I know already what I will be hearing from you. Sabrina, the time was much too short. We could have spent much more time discussing. I know. It's always sprints and it's always too short. Want to listen to perhaps
Sabrina, bad Sabrina.
Yeah, bad Sabrina. Always like putting short times. Want to listen to 1 or 2 voices. How was it? How was it to try to apply some of these narratives to a context which is a little bit more corporate? Insights, reflections about that.
I liked it a lot, but we did emerging, and the last 2 points we weren't quite sure if we were doing it or understanding or using it correctly.
Yeah, and again, these frameworks, I mean, there is no right or wrong. It's just like kind of structuring your thinking. Could be individually or could be in groups, but kind of structuring your thinking around like how do you apply these other narrative arc to the different situation you faced. I invite you to use ChatGPT, Gemini, these AI platforms, LLMs, to help you also with that. You know, sometimes you have a challenge, you have a situation, you can chat with the AI saying, okay, I have this situation. You know, because it knows the different narrative arcs existing. How would you apply it? What would you suggest as the most powerful narrative arc for this situation? And kind of using it as a sparring partner to help you define how to use one arc or another depending on the situation you faced. That could be like very, very productive discussions. What else? Monse? You had your mic open, so I thought perhaps you wanted to share something.
Yes. Related to the activity, I mean, I was with Just, and yeah, we were like wondering if we were doing the correct or incorrect thing. You just answered that there's no right or wrong thing. We put like really simple steps, and it was a really interesting exercise. I like it.
Yeah, so as I said, you can also like, you make a first draft, then you take it, you put it into an LLM and you said, okay, how would you improve that? Do you think that, okay, I've tried to use the emerging narrative. Do you think that it's powerful enough in the beginning? Do you think that we are not losing too much energy along the storytelling and perhaps it falls a little bit flat at the end, you know? So you can rework your storytelling in a lot of like back and forth discussion with AI, and it's working pretty well. Okay, I invite you also to look at the Miro afterwards to see like what the other groups had as a scenario, because each group had a different one, which narrative arc they had, and you can make the exercise. You can take each of the scenarios and try by yourself which different arc you could have used, and yeah, how it could look different in terms of how you convinced or how you achieved the challenge that was defined in each of the scenarios. Okay, we have 10 minutes left. I want to share my screen the last time today to explain to you what we are expecting for these extra activities we are inviting you to do as a complement to the session. First thing, so as I said, you have the learning kit available. It's already in the channel 1, okay, in Slack. You have some extra contents. You have some articles, books recommendation, videos. So we try always to put a variety of resources for you to study further. You have also some suggested tools that you can find in the toolbox of Hyper Island. And as I said, this is lifetime access, so no stress. You can have a look at it. That's great. You don't have time. It stays for later, no problem. And if you have any question while looking at some stuff, you can always reach out to me, okay? This is already available there in the first channel. So I said you have 2 tasks every week. The first one is the challenge. For this first challenge, I want you to document your stories. Because when we talk about storytelling, we can say, okay, storytelling is, I have a challenge, I have something, and I will apply a narrative arc to convince people, to really make my point. But it's also bringing your stories, your personal stories, into your communication. And you've probably already heard people who do this very well. And most of the time, we have the tendency to think that, oh, but I don't have an interesting life. I don't have any story to tell, you know, and that's completely wrong, okay? Each of us has interesting experiences that we can use to connect with some situation in the corporate life. So as an experiment exercise this week, I would like you to document your stories. As a first step, you have to think with the writer's lens, okay? So become more emotionally aware of what moves you in life. I want you to look at your past from the moment you were born, okay? And try to draw a timeline. You can do it on paper, on the floor. You can do it on the whiteboard of yours, whatever the format. And I want you to think of like, what were moments of your life where happened something, okay? You can think about places, people, things you love, events, first experiences, whatever. And then I want you to document these stories. Not just what happened, but who was involved, where it happened, when, what were the visuals, what were auditory, like the kinesthetic, like, you know, really try to gather the different elements of this story. I will give you an example, okay? I, Sabrina, my mother was a secretary for as long as I remember as a child. And then when I was 11 years old, she decided to throw everything away and open a discotheque in the south of France. She became the manager of a discotheque with very hard rock music, with people drinking at the bar and eating the glasses. They were eating the glasses, masticating the glass, and spitting with blood. So I spent 2 years of my life in this context. Every Friday night and Saturday night, I was going there. I was helping the DJ, choosing the musics. I was helping my mother clean the place at 5 a.m. in the morning. I was sleeping on the sofa with very hard music. When I tell you this story, you can visualize the things, right? Because I'm giving you details of what I was listening, what I was living. You know, you can really visualize the place. This is the first step, okay? Try to find these stories in your life and get these elements. But then I want you to go to the second step, which is the director's lens. Looking at the story and identifying the words you can connect it to, the concepts you can connect it to. So if I come back to the story of my mother becoming a manager of a discotheque, I can connect it with resilience, with courage, with stepping out of the comfort zone, right? So if I have a moment in my corporate life where I want to speak about courage, then I can really bring this example and explain why I'm telling this story. Okay, so I want you to gather all the little elements, not just to tell a story, but have people relive the story with the details. And I've put the example here. So you will get a framework from me, like a little document that you can clone on your computer. You can download it on your computer or clone it on your Google Drive. And then the idea is for you to feel these little parts and connecting with the words at the end. So again, in my example, taking risk, professional transformation, entrepreneurship, overcoming, resilience, etc., etc. Okay? And if you can do it for 2-3 examples in your life, perfect. Because the more you start to gather these little stories and knowing to what you can connect it, then you can use it and you can become more of a storyteller in your life, in your corporate life. Can be also in the personal life, you know. When I'm doing a networking event, sometimes I'm telling some of these stories because then people remember me because they can associate a story with Sabrina, not just, she's facilitating courses. This is boring, you know, but they can associate me with a story of a discotheque in the south of France with people spitting blood with glass. Okay, so make this exercise. And the idea is for you to, you do it, you make a PDF, and then you post your PDF on Slack in the channel 1. Say, hey guys, this is my weekly challenge. So that the other people can read your stories too and can comment. Okay? The second activity you have to do in the week is the reflection journal. So why do we want you to make a reflection journal? We believe very much into having an experience, right? We need to have an experience to learn something for real, not just listening to theory. But when you have a tangible experience, you need to reflect on it afterwards. You need to stop. You need to observe how you were feeling, you know, how you were reacting, so that you can generalize. You can get the insights from this experience and decide, okay, how do I apply this in my world afterwards, in my own context? Okay, so every week I will give you some trigger questions and I will put them also in the in the Slack so that you can copy paste them and answer them in the Slack. Okay, these questions, they are meant to help you connect your context, your life with what we've been learning in the session. Okay, every week, 3 or 4 questions, and then you post them into the Slack. You don't need to post the challenge and the reflection journal together. You can make one, post it, and then another one a few days later. There is no problem. Would be nice to make these 2 activities before we see each other in the next session next Monday, okay, until Sunday night. But even if you are late, done is better than procrastinating, okay? So that's okay. Even if you do it like 3 days later than the deadline, that's all fine. The important is that you apply it. Toolbox of Hyper Island, I've spoken about it when we were talking about the stinky fish. And you will find many other things like check-in, check-out, reflection, individual, which are the 2 things we are using today. But there are many other things you can explore in our toolbox. So summarizing, get organized, block time in your agenda, get sure that you can be available for the sessions and for making the activities. For the people who have not posted yet a message in the networking channel, I invite you to do it. Okay, it can be a little video. If you are too shy for the video, you can write a message. But think, you are in a communication course, right? So you have also to step out of the comfort zone, recording a video. That's a good exercise. You have the weekly challenge and the reflection journal as the 2 activities of the week. And then I would like you to read and comment on the other work activities that your colleagues will be posting in the Slack. Okay, don't expect me to correct what you will be posting. Again, there is no right and wrong. It's just like frameworks for you to experiment. But if you have specific questions, no worry, you can put them and then I will answer them. Okay, but I will not comment on your work, say, oh, that's a good job, or no, that's a bad job. That's not my facilitating responsibility. Okay, I want to nudge you into doing things, but I'm not here to judge. All good for everyone? You are still alive after these 3 hours together? Yeah? So we go for checkout. In the same way we've done the check-in at the beginning of the session, now the idea is making a checkout. So in 1 word, how are you leaving this first session? You can write in the chat, you can open your mic. What leaves you more at ease?
Inspired, I would say.
Inspired, Alex. So I see a lot of things coming in the chat. Energized, inspired, reflective, inspired, motivated, inspired, curious, insightful. Yeah, I'm also curious of what we'll be doing together in the next weeks. Open for more. Amazing, amazing. So guys, closing our session today, many thanks for your participation, for the way you write in the chat, for the way you are really interacting with us in the session. Thank you, Benny, for this first session together. Next week, we'll have another facilitator with me that you will get to know. Benny will be back, I think, in session 4, in the last one. If you have any questions, any doubt, you have a channel called Help on the Slack. So feel free. If there are some of you here who have not entered the Slack yet, please do it, because all the communication will be made there. I will not write emails to you anymore, okay? Everything in the Slack. And I will build a landing page that I will post tomorrow, okay? On this landing page, you will have the recording of the session, the PDF of the deck with all the slides, the link to the challenge that you have to complete with your stories, the questions for the reflection journal, everything, the toolbox, everything will be in this landing page, okay? And I will post tomorrow, like tomorrow morning, morning in Americas. So perhaps it's like beginning of the afternoon or mid-afternoon for Europe. Okay? All good? Thank you very much. And
Yes.
I'm available on Slack if needed. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.